Dorothy. I'm head of growth at AltLayer. Before I get started with introducing what AltLayer does, I have a question for you guys. So, how many of you are familiar with Rollups? Can you raise your hands? Okay, for those who raise your hands, can you tell me how many types of Rollups are there? Anyone? 2? Okay, go ahead. Okay, great. Does anyone have a different answer? Okay, so I agree. ZK and optimism are the most commonly used and accepted ways to differentiate rollups, but they're not representing the full picture. So I'd like to first share with you guys how many types of rollups there are. When we talk about ZK and optimism, we're really differentiating through the execution model, how the transactions are accepted, whether it's via mathematical process like we do with ZK, or whether we have a challenge period where we manually challenge the transactions and call them out. That's how we run the execution model. But besides that, we can also differentiate rollups by runtime. EVM is the most commonly used runtime, and it's fully compatible with Solidity. It's very easy to use and widely adopted. But it's also kind of lame. It's not as well advanced as some of the other runtime, like Wasm, which is used by Polkadot and Cosmos, and like Solana VM used by Solana, or Cairo VM used by Starkware. So besides its EVM, you also have other choices. And purpose is also very important. When we talk about general purpose rollups, we're referring to guys like Optimism and Arbitrum, meaning that all the dApps running on these chains are sharing the block space, which means they're essentially fighting each other for resources. They're like the knights fighting in a kingdom for honor. Rollup, we're talking about rollups that are built specifically for an app. So the dApp built on this app-specific rollup will own the entire block space. They don't have to fight with anyone. They own the blockchain by itself. So that's some very important way to differentiate rollup as well. And then we have underlying chains. Rollup started off from Ethereum, as Ethereum has the most need to scale. However, there are also other layer 1s and layer 2s that can use the help from rollups, such as mentioned, BNB chain, they have OPBNB. We also have guys like Polygon or even Solana who are also exploring rollups. So rollups are no longer just dedicated for the Ethereum community. And lastly, we can also strip away the DA layer from Ethereum so that you can use EigenLayer or Celestia to run the DA to save your costs. So these are all the trade-offs you can make to customize your rollup based on your needs. So we're no longer just talking about Optimism, Arbitrum, or ZK Sync that are general purpose rollups that could be running on OP or ZK stack. There could be many choices and many phases. As mentioned, the biggest problem we see from Arbitrum and Optimism is the centralized sequencer and centralized validator network, which means the Optimism team actually owns the sequencer and it's a single point of failure. It not only adds issues and risks with performance and also censorship, it also means all these teams will own all the income from running the sequences. in addition, whenever you want to upgrade a network, when we use Ethereum, and Ethereum have to go to the Shanghai upgrade or other upgrades, Ethereum has to hard fork. It's a very detrimental and risky move to make when you already have a lot of dApps running on top of the network. So centralized sequencer, centralized validator set, and hard forks are the biggest issues running with Optimism and Arbitrum. And we have Celestia, who came up with sovereign rollups, which means you're using Celestia DA to run data availability. In this case, you have a lot more freedom over the execution environment, but the biggest issue with sovereign rollup is that they no longer derive the security from Ethereum. If a rollup is no longer deriving the security from base layer, is it that safe to trust this rollup? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. So I just mentioned a lot of the risk with existing solutions like Optimism or Celestia DA. So what we're trying to build at AltLayer is looking to solve these issues. So we are building something called Beacon Layer, which is an enshrined interlayer for rollups. What it does is to build a shared network that offers decentralized sequences and validators, and also it allows programmable upgrades without any hard fork. How it works is that all the rollups will use this interlayer to host them and communicate with Ethereum. In that case, the sequences are no longer run by Arbitrum team or Optimism team. It's run by the community. Now the community can enjoy all the income recruit from all these operations of rollups. And imagine if you have 1,000 rollups running at the same time, operating different dApps, varying from gaming to social network. Now, all these revenues will go to the community who operates this open network. So to summarize, there are 3 keywords: decentralized, meaning all the sequences and validators are decentralized and run by the community. Interlayer is an enshrined interlayer in between the rollups and the base layer Ethereum. And also the 3rd keyword is automatic. All the tech stack is fully automatic and upgradable. You can spin up a rollup using our platform without any code in 5 minutes, just in a few clicks. And now I'll quickly go through the process of running the interlayer called Beacon Chain from AltLayer. So when we talk about rollups, there are a few key components that we already mentioned, such as sequences. So when we decouple all of them, we can see aggregator, sequencer, and verifier. At AltLayer, we decouple all these components so they can all be operated in a decentralized manner. When the user initiates a transaction, the user is essentially sending a request to the rollup. And the beacon layer is operating as a marketplace for all these sequences. We'll essentially randomly assign the users a sequencer to run the node for. If you're a user, you want, or you're a community member or professional node operator, you want to participate in running this open network, all you need to do is to stake a minimum amount of Ethereum. Then you're qualified, and the beacon layer will randomly select you as the node validator for a certain rollup. You'll be running both the sequencer and validator. So what happens when you have fraudulent activities? You get slashed. That's how we protect the security of the network. And after the sequencer process and order all the transactions. Now they would enter into the beacon layer for proof of validity. After beacon layer checks the POV and recognize the transactions as valid, now they'll send all these transactions in batches to the base layer. And this is where the transactions enter into the challenge period. If you believe the transaction is fraudulent or there's any misbehavior, you can challenge the transactions, and then if you succeed in challenging the transaction, then we'll enter into the rollback state. So in this entire process, there are different tiers of security you can get. Remember when I first mentioned the sequencers are ordering all the transactions and processing them. At that stage, we can already sort of trust these transactions. We call them soft final because, as you remember, all the sequences are run by the community. It's a decentralized network. So if we believe all the sequencer operators are not colluding with each other, we can call the state soft final. But when we want higher level of security, we need to go through the beacon layer and have the POV check to ensure the transactions are verification level final. But the final stage is really when the transactions arrive at the base layer, which is Ethereum in this case, and we can call these transactions hard final if there is no challenge at all. So there are different tiers of finality we can get. So when you conduct a transaction on Optimism or Arbitrum, say you're interacting with an app like Braille, do you know what tier of finality you're arriving at? Anyone? Okay, so when you're making, say, a transaction on Braille, on Arbitrum, and after the transaction is confirmed, you're happy with it, you have reached soft finality because the single sequencer of Arbitrum has decided it's a valid transaction, but you have not gone through the 7-day waiting period. No one has challenged you. So soft finality is normally what we are happy with. And as mentioned before, one important feature we support at the beacon layer is programmable upgradability, which means you can freely upgrade your rollups without any hard fork, which is very important for builders. And besides the beacon layer I just introduced, we also can help projects to spin up a rollup using our automated technology through SDKs and dashboard. These are all the components you can customize when you use us as a service provider, varying from the tech stack, whether you want to use Optimism, or OpenStack, or Arbitrum Orbit, or Starkware ZK EVM, or Polygon ZK EVM. You can, Starkware doesn't have ZK EVM. I don't know if you noticed I made that error. So all these tech stack are customizable based on your needs. And in addition, you can customize your DA layer as well as the base layer. And also, you can customize your gas model, whether you want to use your own project token as the gas token for the chain, or you want to make the chain entirely gasless if you're running a, say, on-chain game that doesn't want any gas interactions. And we also have something special called Flash Layer, which means all the rollups we support are disposable. For instance, in a rank-based game or a game tournament or in an NFT mint event or token airdrop claim, all these events are one-off and you don't need the roll-up after the event is over, so you can dispose the roll-up when you no longer need it. So all the roll-ups are disposable if you need them to be. And this is what our no-code platform looks like. If we go to dashboard.alt.technology, you can literally just try out our platform. You can spin up a roll-up within a few clicks. It's very easy. You don't even need to be a programmer to be able to do it. And for customization needs, you can reach out to me or my team and tell us your demand. And this is my last slide. So to summarize at AltLayer, what we're providing is a secure and decentralized network that supports builders to build better apps. And our technology is flexible and elastic, upgradable, and no code. That's all. Thank you.